Hi everyone and welcome back to another tutorial. I hope you're all keeping very well. I want to just say a huge thank you for all the support over the last couple of weeks with my mum passing. You've been a huge support to me, really have. I just want to thank you so much, sincerely, for just kind of helping me through it, you know, just being there, asking me was I okay, that kind of thing. It really meant a lot, so thank you so much to everyone for that. Yeah, upwards and onwards, things are getting better. I'm getting back into the painting a little bit more. It's, you know, I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit more now. As we go. So look, this week I am going to paint something for John, who is a patron of mine, and he requested a scene which was on my channel a long time ago. It was Gugambara in Cork, a beautiful scene of a little church, Gugambara, and for some reason it's just gone from my hard drive. I can't find it anywhere. I have part 1 of the tutorial, but part 2 has just disappeared. Maybe I just erased it by accident when I was cleaning up my files or something like that. So yes, I'm going to do that for him, a nice summer scene. Lovely trees, reflections and a building. So, you know, a nice variety here to kind of get you started. I'll try and keep it as simple as I can. Because I did have kind of some requests from a few subscribers and patrons kind of asking, could I maybe do something towards the more beginner oil painter kind of subject. So something just nice and simple, teaching you the basics of oil painting and some kind of nice simple easy techniques that you can use to create a lovely landscape. So I might do something like that now as well in the next couple of days. Also, I'm doing one for Gary. Gary is a friend of mine as well, and he was asking me for weeks and weeks could I paint something that he actually painted himself, but he wanted to get my take on the scene. It's a lovely sort of a very misty scene with like a boat sitting in the water and a little kind of a dock area. So he wanted my take on that. So I told him, yeah, I'll get that done. So maybe next week I'll get that done for you, Gary, maybe even sooner, alright? I apologise for the wait, but I do have so much going on at the moment. I'm getting my artwork ready as well to hang up in the restaurant, because the restaurants are starting to open up again because of this COVID thing. The restaurants are starting to open again, so I'm kind of getting stuff ready and trying to get stuff framed. I have a lot of stuff around. That's another nice one. I might try and hang that out there. So I'm kind of busy getting stuff sorted and cleaning my frames, changing some of the paintings and so on. So I'm kind of very busy at the moment, which is good, I suppose. It's a good complaint to have. So look, without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this lovely tutorial. This is one that I've done many times, and I love painting it each time because each time is completely different. I hope you enjoy it. Grab your stuff and let's have a bit of fun with this. Thank you so much. Okay, here we go. Colours, I have titanium white, naples yellow, cadmium yellow pale, cadmium yellow deep, just an extra little one, some phaylo blue, some burnt sienna, some burnt umber, alizarin crimson and black. I think that's enough to give us a nice summer scene. Just a photograph. Isn't that lovely? A nice simple scene, but lovely rich colours in this. And I'm going to try and get this lovely and rich now, okay? Nice, rich, vibrant colours. I'm going to start off with a pencil, do a little sketch. Now, it's a 16 by 12 canvas, primed. So a 16 by 12 primed once and sanded very lightly then with a very fine sandpaper, okay? So a really fine grit sandpaper, and just give it a quick rub like this, you see? Just kind of all around, and it's lovely and smooth. You can hardly even feel the grain on this now, I'll be honest. And I just use a mix of a water-based undercoat with a little bit of PVA sealer added. So just a little bit, and it gives a lovely kind of a chalky undercoat. It's like pretty much like a gesso, but it's far cheaper, and it's the very same thing. It does the very same job. Now, pencil, I'm going to do a little horizon line here, and when I say horizon line, what I mean is the line where the land kind of meets the sky, or the water's edge meets the hills in the distance. So I always say horizon line, but that's what I mean. This line where the hills meet the water, okay? Now we have some trees coming down like this, and excuse me, I'm going to bring the bank of the front of this painting across like that, look. So that's the bank, and then we have a little piece that comes up like that, and then we have another little bank with another bundle of trees like that, and another little one like that. And that's just a very rough, simple sketch. Now we have a little bit of the hill back here showing. It kind of comes down and it almost disappears off. Okay, like that. And then it comes up, turns, and goes off, up like that, out of the painting, okay? Now, the land here, I'm going to come across like this, okay? And I'm going to bring it straight over like that. Then we have our church. You see, I'm just doing this very simply. Now, we could just put a rough sketch of the tree line there. Look, that's a very quick sketch of the tree line. And the church is the important part, really. This is what it's all about, the church. Some of it is hidden. I'd like to try and show more of the church if I can. So I'm going to go over around here with one side of the front of the church. Then I'm going to go here with the other side. Now I don't want this too small either. I want it to be able to see the church is kind of the focal point of the painting, really, isn't it? So let's go a bit more, and I'll find the point then for my rooftop. Now it's a very steep roof. So will I go around there? Yes, in the centre. So I come down like this, and I come down like this. Okay, and the thing about getting the perspective right in this is, if you look at the photograph, okay, you'll see this roof line here is falling slightly, isn't it? That's because everything that's above this line here, this horizon line, okay, this is your, let's imagine this is our eye line, okay, the sight of our eyes, like that, okay? Everything above that line will come down at a very slight angle, and the higher it gets, the steeper the angle will get, okay? Because everything meets at this point. So for example, let me show you. Let's bring this down at a slight angle. You can see there's a kind of a slight angle, and it almost kind of goes towards one point in the photograph. This bottom line then is going to come up slightly. Okay, now this is probably a bit steep for my liking. I'm going to just level it out a little bit, just to make it more natural looking, because the building is kind of turned away from us. It's kind of foreshortened. Do you know what I mean? This one then is going to come down a little bit steeper, like that. Now we can fix all of this. If it doesn't look right, that still doesn't look right to me. In theory, that should be a much steeper line, but I'm thinking because the building is kind of turned more almost front ways on us, you can see very little of the side of the building. So I may just make this a little bit shallower, and then come down like this. Okay, I'll bring this one up. I'll get rid of this line here. So we have a little bit of perspective on this then. Alright, that's probably a little bit more natural, I would say. I'm going to fix this back line here as well. I'm still not convinced the building is big enough. You see, that's what happens, like when you're painting. You would say to yourself, no, it's still, the building is still not big enough for me. So let's maybe make it a little bit wider. Just a little bit more, give it a bit more dominance on the painting, okay? So you'll do this a couple of times. I will always kind of sketch this maybe once or twice until I get it right. Now let's go up here a bit higher with the roof again. I mean, the roof almost goes up past this hill up here, doesn't it, realistically? So let's try that, and let's try that. I think that's a bit better, isn't it? And let's come along like this. And then we go for the same angle on that roof there. So this is going to be all kind of trees here, you see? Big bush. That's a bit better, isn't it? I think that's a bit better. Right, that's all the sketching done. Let's move on to our painting. And I'm going to start with the sky. I'm going to take, let me see now. I actually go with my large stubby brush. My large stubby brush. Dip it in some turpentine and give it a quick dry on some tissue. So it's not soaking wet, it's just damp. Let's take a little phaylo blue, nice rich sky blue, and a bit of titanium white. Okay, nice and simple, two colours, titanium white and phaylo blue. Now be very careful with phaylo blue, it's a very rich colour, so you only need a little of that. And let's just mix that, a nice creamy kind of consistency, and then let's go up there and put that across our sky. Look, nice and soft all the way across. Keeping it nice and simple. Now, if you notice that blue, okay, and this is what I was worried about this. I want the blue to look like a more natural blue. That blue to me has a hint of a sort of an earthy greeny bluey type of a feeling to it, and I was worried about that. What I might do is take some cobalt, and you'll see the difference now immediately. So this is now like trial and error as we go, we're trying it out. Let me just rub some of that off, okay. What I'm going to do now is, I'm going to change to cobalt. So I'm going to take some cobalt blue and titanium white. Now look at the difference in the blue already. Isn't that amazing? One is more of a sky blue, the other one is kind of a greeny ocean sort of a blue. And that's the difference between two blues. It's very, very handy to have two different blues, I suppose, when you're painting. So let's go now with cobalt blue for a change. Put that on. And that seems to me now like a much more natural summer sky blue kind of a blue. Does it not? I think it does. I think it's a much nicer hue. Now let's put a bit of white into that as it comes down. And I did forget to do something important on my canvas before I painted. And what I normally do on my canvas before I kind of paint a large area like this is I take some linseed oil, or even just some of the thinners that we're using, which is linseed oil and turpentine. I take some of that on a tissue and I would normally kind of rub it along with a tissue just to take the dryness out of the canvas, and it helps the paint sort of just move around that bit better. So I did forget to do that, but it's fine, it's totally fine. If you find your canvas is a little bit dry, do rub a tiny amount of thinners across your canvas, just with a little bit of tissue. It does help. Now let's take a little bit of white. Just white on its own. We have some nice clouds coming along, like that, off in the distance. And I want to give these clouds a nice sort of swooshy kind of a feel coming across the sky, as if, we just fix this now, make sure this is not overlapping the palette too much. They're kind of wispy clouds, you see, kind of wisping across the sky like that. That's just a nice simple kind of a cloud, okay? And we can put maybe just one up around there, you see, just very loosely with the brush. You don't have to be too fussy with all of this at all. And let's take one maybe behind the hill, just like that. It's just a very kind of a loose effect. Now, a soft blender brush. Any kind of a makeup brush that your wife or your partner may have in his or her makeup cabinet will do fine. Look, just to soften some of these, just some of them in, just a little. There we go. Nice, nice and soft. Alright, now that'll do fine, I think. It's just a nice simple sky is all we need. Let's go on now to these off in the distance, and it's a kind of a light pinky sort of a colour. So I'm going to take a little bit of crimson. I'll take a little hint of cobalt blue. Now we have a nice soft colour there. A little hint of white and a little hint of naples yellow. Now you can see this is more on the kind of pinky side. So the naples yellow will warm it slightly. As you add Naples Yellow to a pink, it warms it and makes it more sort of peachy. It's a really beautiful colour. Now I'm just going to go like that, and as it comes up I'm going to add a little of this blue into it. Okay. There we go. Alright, just like so. And then I'm going to just take a touch of turpentine in my brush now, alright? And I'm going to take a hint of pink, a hint of burnt umber, and a tiny hint of black. These are very thin mixes now, by the way, okay? They're very thin, they're not very thick, oily mixes at all. Nice and thin. Just go around your roof just very lightly like that, okay? Now, so that's kind of the outline of the hill done in the background, yes? Now, I'm going to take another brush. I'll go with something along the lines of, let me see now. I'll go with a small flat stubby, something small and flat, okay? I'm going to mix a nice warm purpley kind of a colour. So phaylo blue crimson, a little bit of cobalt maybe even. I'm going for a nice kind of warm purpley tone this time. And maybe a hint of burnt umber in that as well. Now, as I'm coming down, I want to kind of, just want to darken that ridge just a little there, okay? And I'm going to use that then to act as the separation between the front hill here and the one in the background, okay? Over here. I'm just going to sort of bring it down like that and then let it sort of soften in very gently like that, look. Now this will be all trees as well, a lot of this, so not to worry, don't try and make it too perfect. There's going to be lots of trees there later on. And soften that across like that. And as it comes further up, we can maybe darken it slightly, because as it gets closer to you, it's going to darken. So let's go with some burnt umber, some crimson, and a little black. Now that's overpowering that black, isn't it? So let's take a bit more crimson. And let's just run that through it here and there. And soften it in. And let it soften off into that colour over there too, look. Now I think that's really, realistically, that's all we need to do. You know, you could, if you wanted that, if you were really particular about this, you could take a very small pointy brush, a little bit of that whitey pinky colour, and add a suggestion of the kind of the rocky hill up, way off up in the distance. You see the lights of the rocks. Now, if you're really fussy, you don't have to do this. You could put a little suggestion of it, look, just nothing too fancy, as they say, just a little suggestion, a little hint of a rock face there, you see, just a little one. Now as it comes down, I'm going to start introducing some green into this. So I'm going to take this bluey colour, let's take a hint of cadmium yellow and a hint of burnt umber, and then we can kind of introduce this warm sort of greeny colour down here. Now maybe a hint of Naples Yellow, because it's so far away, I want to soften that up into the pink as well, you see. There we go. And going up the hill very slightly. Okay, that'll do fine, I think. A bit more Naples in the back. Now what I want to do next is the trees on the front here. Those lovely little bushes, they're very nice. I'm going to take a very rough brush, you see it, look? A very worn brush. And I'm just going to dampen it very slightly. I always dampen my brushes first, very slightly, and then give them a good dry. I'm going to take a very dark green. So cadmium yellow, pale, and some black. And keeping this warm, I'm going to go with burnt umber. If you add a little blue, it's going to go very cold. It'll be a very cold bluey green. I want a nice dark warm green. So burnt umber and black with yellow makes perfect dark green. Now I'm going to go along and I'm going to put that in, just kind of dab it along. Being careful across the bottom. Okay, just going with your line, your pencil line. And look, just a quick suggestion of some very dark sort of bushes way off in the distance there. There's a very dark tree line. See? Just like that, look. And as it comes down, you could go even really dark with some black and some brown at the very, very end, just using the corner of the brush, you see? Just like so. Now that's not the end of it. That's the dark done. Now we're going to move on and do the light side of these bushes. So you have a dark side and a light side basically, okay? And the brush I use for these kind of things is something which is very sort of flat but worn at the same time. It's kind of tricky to explain actually. So something perhaps, let me see, I'm looking around here now in my little jar to see what I have which I can use for this. It's a case of trying different things for different effects. Now I think something like this would do nice to create the little bits of foliage that I want. So just with the corner of that, I'll take some cadmium yellow, a little hint of that light blue there, look, and a little white. Okay, some very light pale kind of a green. And let's just imagine the light is coming down from the right hand side, okay, and it's coming down like this. So on the left hand side of these, we'll put a little bit of light, you see? Just a hint, a slight hint. Now that's all you need. It's just simple, off in the distance, but it has a more realistic effect, I think, doesn't it? Now, there's one small thing I want to do off in the distance there, and that's take a little bit of the darker colour and suggest some kind of tree lines off in the distance there, going across the valley, because there are some kind of tree lines off in the distance there as well. You probably can't see them on the photograph, but it's just a hint, a couple of little lines flicking from left to right, that's all, you see? Just gives a little idea of tree lines off in the distance. Okay, we're done with that. Next is the, well, I was going to say the roof. We have lots of bushes and stuff around here. Let's get those in, yes? And it's the same again. I start with my dark colour, some black, some cadmium yellow. And they might even be enough. Perhaps let's try a hint of blue, just to make it a little bit, I won't say cooler, but a little bit richer in colour. And let's just go and block in those kind of trees and bushes, all that kind of stuff just there, yes? I blocked at it now. Maybe a touch of turpentine just to help it flow. And I'm using very little paint, you see. I'm using only little amounts of paint for all of this. There we go. And then we have another little one that kind of comes out like that. So see, I'm just kind of blocking this in very loosely. And before I continue then, I'm going to move on to my small brush again. And I'm going to take some naples yellow, some cadmium yellow, and perhaps a hint of cobalt blue. A tiny, tiny, tiny hint. Now that's not a very light colour, okay? It's a sort of a medium light. So let's just try it. Remember, the light is coming from the right hand side. Now clean your brush in between this. Okay, each time give it a little wipe on some tissue. just to keep it nice and clean. And let's try some cadmium yellow on its own. I'm using the corner of the brush, and I'm going to soften it kind of across into the dark, you see? Soften it across. So it disappears. Then I'm going to create another layer of light colour in front of that. So again, cobalt blue, cadmium yellow, and perhaps a little white this time. So this will be a much brighter colour. And I'm going to create an extra layer of bushes in front of that, see? Just using the corner of the brush. So now we have all these different layers of bushes, you see? Isn't that wonderful? So now we can paint our roof now, you see, and we can cut across in front of these greens to make it nice and flat. You see, that's the plan. That is the plan. So I'll take another flat brush, a nice clean flat brush, okay? And I'm going to take some crimson, some black, lots of white. Now it'll take a while to get this colour just right, okay? It's a sort of a pinky grey. So a pinky grey for me would be a little bit of crimson, a little hint of black, and perhaps even a hint of burnt umber as well. And that would give you a nice kind of a pinky grey. Would I be right? You could add a hint of blue if you wanted, just to make it a bit more on the grey side, but you don't have to. Now let's check that. Okay, I lighten that now with a hint of Naples yellow. Okay, now let's try this. Go right down in front of those greens and push them back, you see? Now if you feel it needs to be a little lighter, just add some Naples yellow. If you feel it needs to be darker, just add a bit more black perhaps, and maybe a hint of blue, just to keep it on the kind of cool grey side. You see what I mean? But look, I am kind of keeping all this nice and simple. I'm not too worried at all about making it absolutely perfect. It doesn't need to be. Look, I'll even take a bit of brown, burnt umber, and I run a little bit of burnt umber through it here and there. And perhaps even just a bit of black on its own. Okay, now look, let's leave it at that. I lighten it then by the trees, just to separate it from those trees a little bit more. Do you understand? So let's take a little bit of Naples yellow, a little bit of white, and some of that kind of grey colour. It's just basically a lighter shade of what we have on there, just to separate it from the tree line that bit more and make it stand out. And then see, just soften it back in to the darker, see? That gives it a nice bit of a contrast, doesn't it? See, we're going along nicely now, aren't we? What I'm going to do while I have this brush in my hand, I want to put in this light section here. So I've got some Naples yellow. I'm just kind of guessing now what this is going to be. It's very bright anyway, isn't it? It's a very bright whitey, almost whitey kind of a colour. So let's go with a little bit of that pink, some white, and let's just put that in. Now don't worry if you pick up some of your green, okay? Just give it a wipe on your brush. In fact, you probably could have done this first, then the bush. But it's alright, it's fine. Not to worry, okay? It's our painting, we can do it as we like, isn't that right? Let's say even a bit more Naples yellow and white, just to give that bit more of a punch. And then we move on to the back side, which is this grey, warm kind of a grey colour again, isn't it? It's almost that sort of a colour. I'll just keep kind of glancing back and forward, just try and kind of match up colours as best you can, really. So let's mix a bit of this now, okay, because we're running low on colour here. Let's go over here and take some of this nice light colour. And you must be careful as well when painting your shadows on something. Don't overpower your shadows too much. It's very easy to make your shadows really, really dark, and that will affect the mood of your painting very, very quickly. So just take your time with your shadows, do them bit by bit rather than just putting a dark shadow on very, very quickly. Let's take some white or some Naples yellow, a little hint of the pink, because I want to lighten that just a little. It's a bit on the dark side. Look, see, so I'll even use the corner of my brush or the flat end of my flat brush to create some of the brickwork on the wall, you see? Just very randomly. And already it's starting to look like a brick wall, isn't it? I might go a little bit lighter again. I'll take more Naples yellow, some more white, and just on this side here, just add a couple of bright spots into the wall. And then I'll take my small brush, my very small pointy brush, and I'm going to take a darker colour then, some black and some brown. And I'm going to create some darker bricks with that, okay? Just a couple of little suggestions of darker brickwork just here and there. Just a couple of little dabs, that's all it is. See? Very simple, but very effective, I think. Now, while we have this pointy brush, let's take a bit of white, and I don't know if you can see or not, but we have a very bright PVC kind of fascia on the front of this. Okay, like that. And we have along the side as well, like so. And then we're going to put some nice dark shadows under those. Take a bit of the blue and a bit of the black. And there's some nice dark shadows. Under that. And it's all starting to come to life then. Nice and slowly, isn't it? It's really kind of coming to life. And we have a nice dark shadow in behind this. Alright. And the same on the other side then actually. A nice dark shadow coming down on this side. And a little bit of white over there. Okay, little suggestion of white on that side. Now again, we're doing trees here, so don't be too worried about this, okay? Let's get the cross in. Little suggestion of a cross. There. And a small one at the back. Alright. Then we have little windows, don't we? So all this little detail work, I mean, you could do this in your own time as well, but I'm going to do it as I have this little brush in my hand anyway. It just makes a bit more sense for me to do it while I have the brush in my hand. So we have one window there. We have another one that you can just almost see just on that side. And we have a little bit of a brick kind of effect going on inside there as well. Well, not a brick effect so much, it's like a little shadow of the wall in there, you see? And we have little touches of white around some of those windows. So I'm going to just go with a little suggestion of a lighter colour around the window. And I'm just going to try and get some of the details in here now, that's all I'm doing. We have some brickwork coming down the edge of the wall like that. Okay. And then we have our door. Now, let's make a nice dark brown for the door first, yes? Let's just go nice burnt umber for the initial opening. And then let's take a bit of black and put some black in there to create a nice shadow. Okay. We also have a very, very bright spot, don't we? I'll try cadmium yellow with a little burnt sienna. And I'm going to just put that in as if there's a bit of a light catching in there. Very handy, these little brushes, aren't they? You can do so much with them. Now, let me get some white for this white surround. It's almost a bit of a grey there as well. That pinky kind of a grey. I see that pinky grey everywhere I look. It's everywhere, isn't it? It's a beautiful, warm, whitey grey kind of a colour. Let's put that down like that. And let's go over the other side. So I hope now, John, that this is nice and simple for you to follow. I did say I was trying to keep it as simple as I can. I just hope it's not too complicated for you, okay? You know, lots of these details are so far away anyhow. I need to straighten it just a little bit. A little bit more white, go a little bit wider up here. And then I'll take a little tiny bit of dark colour and we have little bits of shadow catching just here and there. Okay, now I'll leave it for now. There's no immediate hurry with all this. Let's get all this in here, okay? I'm going to take my very small, rough kind of a brush, some black, lots of yellow. Let's try a bit of cadmium yellow deep for a change. That should give us a nice, rich colour. And let me see now, maybe a little hint of sienna. Now let's try that. Ooh, that's a nice dark colour, isn't it? And down there like that. Down the side of our church. I'll fill this in like this first, okay? You can be very loose with this part because it's only just blocking in. See? Blocking everything in. Let's go for a little bit of blue as well, look. Just as it's coming closer to us, it could be getting a little bit on the richer side of green. There we go, a little bit of burnt umber. Pop a little bit of burnt umber in here and there. Perhaps a little sienna. We could go with a little sienna up around here, perhaps. Okay, and I'm going very dark down the bottom then. You can see it's almost a black really, isn't it? And just to give it a good strong shadow in underneath that tree there, I'm going to give it a little hint of blue as well. Okay, now clean our brush and let's get some of the lighter foliage done. I'm going to use the same brush, okay? I'll get some cobalt blue with some cadmium yellow, and I may use that as my first lighter shade. So let's go up here now and just try this, okay? Create some foliage just with the corner of the brush. Get maybe a hint of Naples yellow as well. And I'm just going to kind of hit that, just give it a nice rough edge up on top there, okay? Just like so. Now I'm going to get a nice rich green, a little bit of cobalt blue, some cadmium yellow, and I'm going to, let's say around here, put a nice rich canopy of foliage just along there. As it comes down, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, and pick it up again with the very tip of your brush. Let's go up here and try a little bit on that one, a little bit over there. So it's sort of catching the light, isn't it, from the sky. Again, some cadmium yellow, just a little bit of green on that, but it's fine. And let's go over here and give a little bit of light to this one. This we can cut into our building as well, and that will sort of push the building in behind very slightly, you see. I'll try a little bit of sienna with Naples yellow. That'll give me more a kind of an autumny feel. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so pushing it back just that little bit. And let's get some more of that sienna with some Naples yellow. And we could go over here and add a hint of that in just here and there. So imagine there's a nice kind of a tree just on this side with that sort of a colour. There we go, and it disappears down into the darks then. Okay. And then I'm going to go back into some cooler blues, or some cooler greens, some cobalt blue, some cadmium yellow and some white, let's say. That will give us a nice cool green on our foliage. Let's go over here with that. I'm just using the very corner of my brush, you see. Now it depends on the way your brush is. Sometimes if you move your brush around and start to push it through your paint, you get a nice kind of a corner on your brush, and that helps. Bit more blue, bit more yellow. See, and let's maybe put a little one down here. Just a little piece just here and there. So now, one last thing I want to do is just go over here and put that up over that roof, look. So we're now pushing it in to the building. Okay. Now I think I will leave it at that just for now, okay? I'm going to put this in. I'm going to start now with just a nice rich green for this. Let's dampen our brush very slightly. And let's take some cadmium yellow. And let's take some cadmium yellow deep. And let's just put that in there. Look, nice, rich grassy green. Isn't that right? Perhaps it's sienna. Little hint of sienna as well is always nice. And go up here, up under our church. Now see the way it's picking up some of the dark there. That's perfect. That's what you want, look. Because it's almost sort of gives it its own shadow then. There. Wasn't that easy now? It was so easy. Now let's take our small flat brush. Okay, Give it a little clean. Let's take some cadmium yellow with some naples yellow. Maybe a hint of white. And let's just give this little touch of light. Sunlight catching the floor there, okay? See? And a little bit perhaps along here. Just kind of here and there. You see what I mean? And the next part then, I'm going to just use my, let me see now, could I use, actually, could you try my fan brush? Will we try the fan brush for the reeds at the front? Would that be nice? Let's try it. Let's just take some sienna, some cadmium yellow, and some naples yellow. That'll give us a nice bright, rustic kind of colour, won't it? Take a hint of white in that as well. And just kind of flick it upwards, you see? A hint of blue, perhaps, just to give us a hint of a green there as well. And we could even go with some phaylo blue and some cadmium yellow and some burnt umber, because there will be kind of a greeny hue here and there too going through it. Okay. Then we also have a couple of darks in there, don't we? Very, very dark greens. So let's just pop a little couple of dark ones in here and there. There. Isn't that wonderful? And you could add little bits as well with your pointy brush. So let's go and get some little bits of these. Do you know those little pieces that you see on the top of reeds? Little, small, tiny little dots here and there, you see? You get them everywhere. Okay, yeah, coming on nice now, isn't it? Okay, let's take some burnt umber and let's put in these benches. We have a couple of benches around the place here, don't we? That you can sit and just look out at the water. It's nice and peaceful. And I've came here many times. It's absolutely beautiful. If we ever visit, if we ever visit Cork, please do go to Gougambarra, because it's absolutely stunning. It's real traditional Irish landscape, you know. Sheep running around. There's no housing or anything within miles and miles of this place. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful. So you should definitely try it if you're visiting. And pop into my studio, say hi if you want. There you go. Now a little touch of shadow just underneath some of those. Let's just take a dark green. Just to kind of sit those down on the floor, just a little bit, okay? You see, just a little. Now how are we doing? I'm going to put a very bright colour just on this side here, and just to suggest a little pathway going off there like that. Let me take a look now. We're doing quite nice, aren't we? I must say it's coming along very nicely. I have a little bit of a dark just under the eave here. There's a couple of dark little pieces at an angle. It's more of the shadow than anything else. A bit there. Okay, little bit there. Like that. I'll go with a very dark black, I think, for inside this one, just here. Just to make it stand out that bit more. Other than that, we're coming along pretty nice, aren't we? Okay, water time. Shall we have a go at this water and see what we can do? Yes? I hope you're enjoying this, by the way, because I'm certainly enjoying it. It's wonderful. Right, colours. We have enough colour, I think we have enough colour there. Let's go with the brush. Now, the big stubby. What I was going to do, what I was saying earlier, when I get to an area like this, okay, I'm going to take a bit of tissue, alright, just like this, just a little bit, and I'm going to take some of my thinners, yeah? Yeah, some of my little thinners here. I'm going to take some of that and rub it over the canvas, okay? Just very quickly. Now, the only purpose for this is to help the paint kind of run around on the canvas that bit better and stay wetter for longer for me, because my mixes are quite thin, in the sense that when using oil paints, normally you'd have a very thick impasto kind of a feeling, a paint on your brush. I kind of tend to go towards the slightly thinner kind of a mix. So now let me just go up here first for a moment and try and clean a little area here on my palette, just so I can mix up some colour, because my palette is quite small actually. I'm just trying to fit everything onto the camera, you see, onto the video, so the palette, the painting, the reference, photograph. I'm trying to fit as much as I can on for you. Okay, stubby brush. Let's take some white. I'll try some cobalt blue and a hint of crimson. And I'll go up here and put that across. Okay, right across under that tree line. Like so. Now I need more turpentine in my jar, because my jar is pretty empty. And let's crack on. This is going to be fun here now. So we've that. Then we have more blue. Let's just look at where the blues and stuff are now, okay? But what you could do is just take your regular blue and white and go all the way across like that, okay? Lots of paint now in this, yes? Don't be shy. Lots and lots of paint. And then what you could do is take another brush and get some of the colour from the hill. So there's a kind of a pinky shade, wasn't it? We have a little bit of that here now. And let's put a little bit of that pinky colour just across like that, okay? Remember, left and right all the time. Then we have a dark green. So let's make a nice dark green for those trees off in the distance. Okay, and it's pretty dry now, there's not much turpentine in this. Let's just pull dark greens all the way across like that. And what's happening is it's mixing in with that kind of bluey colour that I have. So it's making a lovely soft kind of tone on the trees. Now, you see? And then what I do at this stage is I take my soft brush and I pull it very gently down. Only slightly, okay? You see? And there we have a lovely reflection already. Now after that, take your pointy brush, a little bit of your light blue, and put a little line just across here and there, just to act as sort of ripples off in the distance. You see? Just like so. Now, I'm then going to just darken along the bottom and refine some of those trees just here. You see the bank? Just kind of refine some of that. You see, and then we can put some lighter colours in there as well. The same as what we did at the beginning. So look, a couple of lights. Like so. Now, do you understand? So the next thing now we need to do is, I'm going to put a darker green in here. Okay? I'm going to mix some black, little cobalt, and lots of yellow. Now that's not dark enough yet, is it? Let's take some more cadmium yellow. I've no yellow left. So let's get some cadmium yellow. And let's take plenty of that. Plenty of black. Perhaps a hint of phaylo blue. That'll really darken it down for us, won't it? Bit of brown, even, bit of burnt umber. Now, when you get to this line of the church, okay, just bring it straight down like that. Alright, straight down like that. Let's take some burnt umber, some black. Let's go nice and dark in here. Alright. Now, something I noticed, we have a light, kind of a tree trunk sort of a thing up here. So let's just put that in. Okay, it disappears up into the tree line, doesn't it? So we'll have the same down here. Like that. See? It's just a little suggestion of that reflection, that's all. There. Now, while I was going to say will we do the reeds along here, but I was going to put them all the way across after I finish the church. So let's crack on and do the reflection of the church. And it's just basically, now try not to get too complicated, okay? Let's first do the green over here. Okay, so let's first pull those down, a very slight reflection of some of those. Look, very, very simply. Pull them straight down, alright? Just imagine it's upside down and we're painting it upside down. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a very rough kind of impression of it, you see? Now clean your brush and then let's mix some of this bright colour, and it's very simple to make that bright colour, some Naples yellow and a bit of white, perhaps a bit of this grey here. And let's, wherever it starts, okay, imagine this is coming straight down and pull it down there, like that, you see? And then back into those greens, like that. Then we have the darker side, and the darker side was some crimson, a little black, and a little burnt umber. I think that was the mix, if I remember correctly. And we make it slightly darker because the reflection will be slightly darker than the actual building, okay? And remember, all your brush strokes are vertical, up and down, not left to right, up and down. Then we get to that, we have a point, comes down like this, doesn't it? And you can see how dry my paint is now. It's really, really dry. Okay, now continue this bit of dark green across here, like so. And I may even add a little hint of light green into it as well. A little bit there, a little burnt sienna around here. You see, just kind of reflecting those colours very, very slightly, that's all. Okay, let me clean my brush again. I'm going to bring this down here just a little bit further. Okay. Now I may maybe make that a little bit too dark. I'll just add a bit of white and lighten it. That's a bit better now, is it? Okay. Then we have our dark roof, which is black, a little phaylo blue, and a little crimson, will we say? Then we add a little white just to lighten it. So it's a matter of just keeping everything nice and loose and simple, and try not to go into too much detail, if you know what I mean. So it comes down to about here, goes up then. Okay, a little bit of black, a little bit of brown, just for where it meets here. Okay, just like that, you see. So I'm making this nice and simple for you now, yeah? Okay, let me see. I think I'll put in the dark lines of the windows. Okay, so one just here, and the curves, another one there, and the curves. You see, nothing too fancy, just a simple impression. Then we have the dark of the door. Let's try with a sienna on one side and a little black on the other side. And then we have some white around that. Let's just go for a light grey. And this won't have to be perfect because again, it's in the reflection. So reflections can get distorted. You probably know that already. Reflections get distorted and it's never exactly the same, is it? Okay, right. Now the next thing I want to do is just one or two of these dark lines here. Okay. And then the little bit of white that's on it. With a little bit of white reflecting on this. I'm just trying not to forget any details, any important ones at least. A bit of white across there. Okay, you see, not bad now so far. And I think at this stage I will pull everything down with my soft brush. If it's still wet enough to be able to pull it all down. Now look, very gently go over all of this, pulling it all straight down. Now, one thing I forgot to do was to pull down a reflection of those weeds across there. So, some sienna, some naples yellow, a little cadmium yellow deep. And just go along and pull those just like that, you see? There. Isn't that nice? Pull everything down very gently then into the water. Okay? Now the next part is, this is kind of where it starts getting fun now. And we're kind of getting to the end now a little bit. So a little bit of white, and we can put suggestion of some little ripples along here and there. And these kind of bring the reflection to life as well. See? Everything kind of just almost jumps into life. keeping it always horizontal. Isn't this wonderful? Now we have a little bit of a line there which doesn't look right, so I just wipe that out and come across here for a couple, and just one or two coming through here like that. Okay, now I've been trying to leave it at that because what I want to do next is get a nice round brush, and I want to bring some foliage down from either side, okay? So some nice rich dark foliage. Now what have I got left? I have a good bit left yet. Let's get some dark green, some black, some yellow, loads of this now, and loads of turpentine. And let's just come down like this. Go with some yellow, pick up lots of paint here now. This is really almost like knife work, okay? There we go. A bit of yellow. Just be very loose with it, have a bit of fun, look. And a cross coming down into the painting, you see? Now, isn't that lovely? And that, my friends, is a nice simple tutorial on Gugambara. Now finally I'm just going to put in a couple of small little branches just around here. Okay, just a few kind of popping along. And I think my camcorder is about to go completely dead. So I'm going to zoom in and show you what we have created with this simple scene. Okay? Let me zoom in and show you what we have done. There we go. And there we are. Nice, simple reflections, and showing you how to keep it nice and simple. Okay, just keep it nice and easy and simple. Nothing too complicated. I'll walk away now on that foliage, maybe just add a few little bits here and there. Maybe a couple walking or something. But in general, I think we've done a good job. What would you say? I'm very happy with that. Right, let me turn the camera. And with that, I will wish you a very good day. Happy painting. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. John, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to see lots more brilliant videos like this, pop over to Patreon. There's some extra tutorials there as well if you want to support me. There's lots over there to get you cracking and get you going. I will upload some nice simple tutorials, beginner tutorials in the next couple of weeks as well. Just showing you kind of basic techniques, trees, you know, clouds, that type of thing. There's some there already on my channel, but I'll do something nicer maybe, you know, get some nice in-depth cloud tutorials, but just keeping it simple for the beginner. Alright, thank you so much. I'll frame that, I must sign it. Don't forget to sign your artwork because you can't sell it if it's not signed. Thank you so much. I'll see you again in a couple of days. I have another tutorial coming very soon for my Patreon page. but I will be uploading that in the next couple of days. Thank you so much, and happy painting, and God bless you all. Thank you so much. Bye bye.